the NFC West, man, a little bit more, up in the air in this division, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
in that last spot, man, the 4th seed, I got the Arizona Cardinals, man, 4-13. Kind of, I was looking at their roster moves this offseason. They signed your boy Kaiser White, probably the best addition they had. They lost Byron Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, D-Hop out of Arizona now as well. Kyler, he still has Hollywood Brown over there. Have yet to see a full season or even, an extended period of them on the field together. So this should be interesting, but nothing really. New coach, new system for Kyler once again. Tough for him to adjust. First year woes will definitely come into play. Schedule's not really friendly at all. So, I got them 4-13. Could they scoop out a little? Should they be a 9-win team? They should in reality. But 4-13, man, the Arizona Cardinals last in that West.
Yeah, I also have the Cardinals coming in that last place, and I had them at 3-14. And like you mentioned, bro, that schedule, it's just tough. Kyler's going to miss a chunk of the season. Going over this stuff right before I just looked, there's still reportedly no timeline for Kyler Murray to return. So we don't know how long he's going to be out and who's going to be their quarterback. Colt McCoy, like, come on, bro. They got a bunch of draft capital next year as well with that trade they made with the Bears. So they got some ammunition to move up. And like you mentioned, a new coach, they might want to get their guy next year in the draft. Not a lot of talent on that roster. And as of now, no quarterback, and I think this team is probably the favorite to land Caleb Williams, that number 1 pick with all that draft capital they have. Kyler coming off an injury. I know they paid him, but, we see guys get paid and then moved off of right after before. So, kind of the same situation with Kyler. They drafted Rosen in the first round. Next year, they take Kyler Murray. So, unfortunate for the Cardinals right now. I just think they're in a weird place. If Kyler's healthy, like you mentioned, I could possibly see him getting those 9 wins, somewhere around there, 7-8 wins, trying to be competitive. But, with Kyler going to miss at least the beginning of the season, we don't know how much time he's going to miss. It's going to be tough for this team to get wins. So I got him scraping 3 wins.
Yeah, no doubt. Next up, man, 3rd place. It's tough to say. This team, they just won a Super Bowl not too long ago. I got the LA Rams, man. I caught them coming in at 5 wins. I got them at 5-12. Matt Stafford, aging QB. He didn't want to take a pay cut. They're still paying, have no draft picks, have nothing. I don't even think they had enough cap room to, kind of sign the rookies. They had to restructure everybody's contract just to sign the rookies they drafted. And they didn't even have any first-round picks. Maybe not even a second. I'm not even sure. But, the Rams, I didn't even write any notes for them. You lose Jalen Ramsey. Aaron Donald probably should have retired after the Super Bowl. I feel bad for him. Rams, it's just 5 wins. Cooper Kupp banged up, obviously. That duo between Stafford and Kupp was demolishing defenses and won them a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Could I see them getting 8 wins? Yeah, but between those two guys being on the field at the same time right now, it's not looking like it's going to be over 60% of the season.
Yeah, so it just looks like I'm the one being harsh on the NFC West because I got the Rams at 4-13. So you're giving both teams a little one extra
one
win.
game, like you said. It's just one game.
Just one game, yeah. But like you mentioned, I think Kupp just had a hamstring or a groin, I think yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah, got injured in camp. Stafford, he's coming off of that major throwing arm injury. How good is he going to be? He's getting older and banged up. Lack of talent on this roster, man. Aaron Donald's really the only name on that defense. He traded away Jalen Ramsey. No really, standout names. I also think this is a team where this season can get ugly very fast for the Rams, and I do believe this is the first year they have their first-round draft picked. I think next season they do have their pick coming up. But, yeah, like you mentioned, for the last few years they didn't have it, so not really an influx of talent coming into the Rams outside of, the big free agent signings who they are just let go. So, like you mentioned, man, it'll be tough. They have, like you mentioned, Kupp, the big names, but can they stay healthy? I don't think they'll be able to get it done in this division where the top 2 teams I think are leaps and bounds ahead of them talent-wise.
Yeah, and for the Rams, the no draft picks. We talked about it last year, before anything of this happened. When they're coming off the defending champs. the reason you trade all those draft picks is to win the Super Bowl, which they did, but that leaves you in this period of limbo. It's like, you might just be here.
Gotta pay back the loan, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is.
That's a great analogy, man. Pay back the loan for sure. They got their ring. I mean, that's what you're striving for in this league. So if you're going to take 3 down years, I'm sure the Rams, they're still pretty happy with their decision.
Next year's draft class for quarterbacks is supposed to be, on the deeper side. There's some talent. So, I mean, they finally got their pick back. Why not take advantage and try to find, the next person for that team? Because with Sean McVay, so far, we've seen like every quarterback he's had has had success. Jared Goff,
yep.
They got to a Super Bowl, ultimately lost, but they made it. And then Stafford comes in, they win the whole thing. So, give McVay some time with a young guy and see if he can coach them up.
Oh, yeah.
Young talent, and I think they make a few moves. All they need is a quarterback, and they'll be right in the conversation again.
No doubt. I mean, and then free up that cap space to where they can actually do something in the offseason.
Yeah, because, I mean, it is L.A. People want to go there. That's a team, They got some pulling for agency.
SoFi Stadium. I mean, come on, man. Who doesn't want to play over there?
Yeah.
That leaves us with the second team in the division who we both clowned last year. And
we did.
The Seattle Seahawks calling 12th man the best player that they had on the field. And the Seahawks, I mean, I got them above 500. I got them 9-8 on the year. I think it was their schedule was like not the best, but the Seahawks surprising. You get another year, Geno Smith coming off his Pro Bowl year. They sign Devin Bush, Draymond Jones, D tackle. They go ahead and draft another weapon in JSN on the outside. You still got Noah Fant, who arguably, coming in was one of the higher-ranked tight ends coming into the league. We've seen him. We know he can make plays.
First-round talent, yeah.
Exactly. Kenneth Walker, obviously going to come back at some point. Run game has always been there with Seattle. No matter what running back they kind of put out there, they've always got some type of competitive backfield. They got Devon Witherspoon. And obviously DK, Tyler Lockett, they stay healthy. Paired with JSN, I mean, you could just throw it around. Those are weapons and skill guys. They really set it all for Geno. They're like, we saw what you could do last year. We're going to put it all on your table. Just give us that same thing. Now you got so many more weapons. We could spread the ball around everywhere. Defense isn't bad. Got some young talent. Tariq Woolen on the outside. Young stud in this game. So I got the Seahawks 9-8. They could squeak out 10. In this NFC, though, probably a wild card team as well, making the playoffs.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered everything. I agree. I had them at 10 wins, so I got them coming in at 10-7, but around the same area. Talented young roster looking to improve off of a successful season last year. Like you mentioned, I don't think anyone had the Seahawks winning that many games or even making the playoffs. So kind of a surprising year for them, but unlike a team like the Giants where it looked like the Giants overachieved, now they'll come down to earth. I think the Seahawks, they can kind of capitalize off of this momentum and look to continue to be a competitive team. And you mentioned another year for Geno Smith in the system. He'll just be more comfortable, added talent like you mentioned in Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then on the defensive side, Woolen will be that star kind of like he touched on, and it'll just be a solid defensive unit coached under Pete Carroll once again in that run game like you mentioned up in Seattle. They'll run the ball. Although some of the injuries do concern me. Like you mentioned, Kenneth Walker, I think he's dealing with something right now. And Zach Charbonnet, one of the running backs they drafted, has some kind of, I think, shoulder injury or something. I'm not too sure, but they drafted like 2 running backs. They always got a bunch of running backs up there. Somebody decent will be carrying the ball for Seattle when the season starts. So I'm not too worried about that. But, yeah, I think the Seahawks are a good team. Like you mentioned, I think they'll be a wild card contender. And I do have them making the wild card 10 wins. So I think the Seahawks will be a good team.
Yeah, no doubt. And when we said 12th man was, the best player, we said it because you go on the road against Seattle. It is a tough environment to play in.
Yeah, that'll definitely help too.
Home field advantage, big time with the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, definitely playoff team. If they could get, into the playoffs, who knows what happens there. And then number one, it doesn't even matter the question. I mean, this team's just so talented. Who is the quarterback in the San Francisco 49ers? I got them at 11-6. they got Terrence Mitchell, your boy Javon Hargrave at the tackle now, new addition as well. That only beefs up, Bosa on the outside. Then you got Javarius Ward, Hufanga, the safety. You got Dre Greenlaw. You got Fred Warner. I mean, this defense is stacked top to bottom. And then you just hit the offense. I mean, you got some of the best weapons in football. Debo Samuel could do it all. CMC could do it all. And you got one of the best tight ends in George Kittle as well. And not even to mention a young talent in Brandon Ayuk. It's just so deep. Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, who's the other? Sam Darnold. These guys can find a way to win games. And if not, possibly have a chance to beat your Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game if they had a able quarterback at the time. But, now they got 3 of them. They got a surplus. So, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, obviously, I think those are the 2 that are really going to be competing. But it's a system. Kyle Shanahan, he's always been a great play caller. I don't think it slows down anytime soon for the 49ers. They win the NFC West.
Yeah, I also had the 49ers coming in at 11-6, and I mean, there's not really much to say with the 49ers as well. At this point, you covered it. They're an elite roster, arguably the best roster in the league, in a weaker NFC, which would always help. Shanahan is going to continue to be an elite coach and scheme people open. CMC, another full year in that backfield. He'll put up crazy numbers. I think Elijah Mitchell's coming back healthy. So that offense will continue to produce crazy numbers. Debo, Kittle, you mentioned, Ayuk, all those guys. It'll be a fun offense to watch. On the defense, they got the former defensive player of the year. Talent all over the place. I think Ward, he left in free agency though. I think he went to the Texans. He left with
Oh yeah, you're right.
With
the coordinator,
defensive coordinator. Yeah,
no,
yeah,
you're right. My bad.
To Houston, but regardless, they still got talent. That defense is going to be really good. The only real question I have is quarterback, and that's the most important position in football. Sam Darnold, I mean, he's seeing ghosts. We know what's going on with him. Brock Purdy, he played really well, was a solid game manager, but, a big injury to his throwing arm in the NFC Championship game. An arm that was already kind of questionable. How good will he be? And Trey Lance is up and down. Reports are saying he's not the guy that if Brock Purdy isn't, fully cleared, that Sam Darnold is going to be the one starting for him. So looks like the team is kind of out on him, but, elite talent, elite upside is there. So, just a bunch of question marks at the quarterback. If this team had, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, I think they'd be a lock for, for winning the NFC or being a lot more competitive in the NFC. But 11-6, the 49ers are going to be good. I think they'll be one of the top teams in the NFC. Just questions at the quarterback spot.
So Javarius Ward is still on the 49ers. It was Jimmy Ward that went to Houston.
Oh, Jimmy Ward. Okay, yeah.
So, another loss, but, very talented safety.
Ward, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, the question with the Niners, we all know QB for sure, and is Brock Purdy able to lead them as the starter, and Sam Darnold, that might be tough. Niners traded up for Trey Lance, is it worth it? All those questions for sure going to be circling around, not just the Niners, around the league. And that organization as well. So
yeah, and how good will Purdy be now that teams got film on him? Because last year was kind of catching teams off guard, kind of out of nowhere. No one really knew what to expect. Now teams know what to expect. They kind of know his tendencies and how he plays. They got plenty of games of film on him. So I think defenses will try to adjust as best as they can to him.
Yeah, for sure see some struggles throughout the season from him, but it's all about just maintaining. You got such a good team. Trusting those guys, he just has to make a play at some point. So, with that being said, man, that wraps up the AFC and NFC West predictions, man. Let us know what you guys rank your teams at.